teach you about one of my favorite animals. This here is a water moccasin. Except if it was a water moccasin, I can guarantee that I would not be holding it right now. This is actually a black rat snake, and these are native to Ohio. You can find them in your backyard. But water moccasins, a lot of people mistake black rat snakes for water moccasins, but water moccasins cannot live in Ohio because our climate is too cold for them, and we do not have the boggy areas, swampy areas that they need to survive. One of the main reasons people mistake these snakes for each other is because black rat snakes are obviously black, but when they're startled, they can actually flatten out their jaw to give their heads an arrow-shaped look. And that is one of the key ways to tell whether or not a snake is venomous. The other is looking into their eyes. If the snake is venomous, they're going to have like the cat-eyed slits. Though if you're close enough to see that, I would highly suggest not looking in that way. Black rats are native to Ohio and most of Northeast America, and they are actually a constricting snake, which is why he's gotten himself wrapped around my arm like this. So when they catch a rat or a mouse or something, they'll grab it with their teeth and then just coil their body around it, just squeeze it, and then it eventually suffocates. So they eat rats, obviously, that's part of their name, but they also like to eat other rodents and birds and eggs. A lot of people don't realize that, but black rat snakes like to live in really woodsy areas, and they're not normally found on the ground too often because they actually like to live in trees. Black rat snakes are incredibly good climbers, and they actually only need the last 6 inches of their tail, and if they get the last 6 inches wrapped around a tree limb or something, they can climb all the way back up to the source. So this guy's obviously pretty big here. He's pretty old actually. He's about at least 20 years old. But so they like to live up in the trees, and they're often found on roofs of houses sunbathing because they are reptiles, and reptiles are cold-blooded, so they can't produce their own heat. He also likes climbing all over people. Now, the dark color of their skin is very great for camouflaging themselves in the shadows of the trees, but when they're juveniles, when they're younger and like less than 3 years usually, they have a very distinct pattern. And you can still see it very, very lightly as adults. You can see the lighter yellows and browns, but when they're juveniles, they'll be bright, bright gray, red, or brownish reds, and dark browns. And you can see the patch pattern that makes them able to blend in with the leaves and the forest floor a lot easier. When they're bigger, they don't have to worry about that quite as much, and they're able to climb higher up into the trees. The bottom of their scales are actually lighter, too. A lot of people don't realize that, but when you think about it, when you're looking up, you're wanting to see the blue sky, and everything up is light versus a dark black blob, so it'd be easy to spot from below. So I mentioned the juveniles. They're usually, when they first hatch, they are about a foot long. They come in clutches of 10 to 14 eggs, though it can go all the way up to 30, and snakes breed between April and June. But they actually don't stop growing throughout their lifetime. So a baby snake will start out about this long, and they'll just keep getting bigger and bigger. So this guy, I already said he's pretty long, but he's about 6 feet. They can get up to be 8 feet usually. And in captivity, they'll live to be about 30 years old, but in the wild, they usually live between 15 to 20 years old. One thing that always confused me was how snakes have everything they need to function. I mean, we have our lungs and our heart and our organs and everything, and that's all cool and all, but these guys, they don't have arms or legs or a body necessarily. What I found out was that snakes have all of the same organs we do. They're just longer. So their lungs, instead of being all up in our chest cavity, it starts usually about a couple inches behind the head and goes down at least 8 inches. The only thing that's really different in their anatomy from us is their nose and their ears. A lot of people hear that snakes smell with their tongue, and that's actually partially true. What they do is they stick their tongue out, and they wave it around, and they catch all these scent molecules. You can kind of see him sniffing around here. And what they do is they have this thing called a Jacobson's organ inside of their roof of their mouth, and they'll take their tongue in and stick it up into their Jacobson organ, and that'll help them decode what they're smelling around them. Because snakes don't have great eyesight, and they don't have ears at all. So he can't hear anything I'm saying, but what he can do is he can sense my vibrations going through the air, but more surely he can sense them going through my arm and through the ground. So that's when people say, hey, make lots of noise when you're out in the woods so that you don't get bitten by a snake or something. It's not the noise that scares them, it's the stomping through the ground. They can sense that and say, hey, I need to go that way, away from all that ruckus. Snakes in general, I feel, are really misunderstood. Everyone's so worried about venomous snakes all the time, but right here in central Ohio, we don't have any native venomous snakes. They're all south of Columbus and along the Pennsylvania border. So I feel like this guy, he gets a bad rap and they don't really deserve it. So next time you see one of these beautiful creatures outdoors, thank the snake that you have one less mouse in your house.
Okay. Thank you very much.